Danielle, you want to read the notice?
In accordance with Chapter 231 PL 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required, specifying the time and location, with such notice as being sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Times of Cambridge, posted on the municipal public notice meeting bulletin board, and filed with the township clerk.
Thank you. I'd like to invite everybody to stand for a flag salute, and at the end we will stand for a moment of silence for those who serve and currently serve our country. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Technical difficulty? Please stand by.
Just got an error message, I just want to make sure that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, roll call.
Chairman Mostyn?
Here.
Ms. Arpaia?
Here.
Mr. Cadigan?
Here.
Mr. Lambros?
Here.
Mr. Sinha?
Here.
And Mr. Barthelmess is absent. We do expect Mr. Farrar and Mr. Borghese. I did speak to them both today, so for minutes or have any public comments or anything else first, just give them a couple minutes.
See if we wander in momentarily.
Yes, and maybe, Greg, if you want to put on record about the application today for Ms. Arpaia, we can get that out of the way too.
Oh, yes, we've already provided Mr. Pape, but as far as she's already listened to the tape, she's eligible to vote and sign the
Oh,
certification.
yes, I did, twice.
Oh, so you did the approval of
Well,
minutes.
you canceled the other meeting.
We're gonna do that next.
It's too late.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get public comment.
We'll do public comment. Anybody here for anything that's not on the agenda? No? Seeing no one, we'll skip right over that. Approval of minutes from January 28th for our reorg and regular meeting. I know they came out late, but they were pretty straightforward. I don't know if anybody else had any questions, comments, or concerns.
Abstained from that, I wasn't at the meeting.
That's right.
Yes.
Anybody want to table it? You want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, there we go.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience with that. I apologize, with the snow day, I was a little thrown off with getting them out to you guys earlier.
It's okay.
Really good job. Chairman Mostyn?
Yes.
Mr. Cadigan?
Yes.
Mr. Lambros?
Yes.
And Mr. Sinha?
Yes.
Thank you.
If while we wait a couple seconds, just so the board's aware, if you I don't think we had a decision in the last meeting, but if you remember the Winding Brook application, which was the applicant was using the property for his tree removal company business.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, they did go file an application to the Ag Board, that got denied. They did file a suit against this board. We had a trial a couple of weeks ago. The court affirmed our decision, that got dismissed. I know they're appealing the Ag Board decision. I've been advised of that. I have not seen if they're appealing our decision yet. They were supposed to have court on their violations on Monday, but got a reprieve because of 24 inches of snow.
Okay.
But from our end, we got affirmed.
Okay.
Good.
Sounds good, thank you. Appreciate the update. All right, anything else we need to go as we're stalling and delaying for 2 more?
We do have a forum.
We do have a quorum.
Well, it is.
Was there an annual report here?
No, not yet.
So we need to go over anything else with the carried application, or we're good?
No.
It's awfully quiet.
I may take a nap.
I know.
It's usually not this quiet in
It's
here.
not usually this quiet. Who watched the Olympics?
I did. I tried to watch as much.
much.
I tried to watch as much as possible.
Yeah.
There's a homecoming tonight where Jack Hughes is going to be coming home.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Game's already
Did he get some caps at least for his team?
Oh, my goodness.
That was the party.
I have to tell you, I don't understand why they just don't pull all their teeth out and wear dentures. It would just be so much more sufficient, okay? Take them out, play your game, put them on, smile bright.
I don't think that was the first time he lost his teeth.
No, it's.
I doubt they were real teeth.
And they're not
They-
even
yeah.
fazed by it.
Yeah,
No.
that would hurt.
Oh, I'd be
But no,
crying
they're
like a
perfectly
baby.
uncrooked, like they're perfectly
Yes, so
jagged.
my
Well, he's
thought
only
process
24
is,
years
wouldn't it be
old.
more
That is his baby
comfortable
teeth,
to
right?
just have dentures?
And he looks like a baby. When they had him on television the next day, I was like, no, that can't be. The guy, kid's like this, you know? They take all the clothes off him, he's just a little person.
Yeah, it was a nice game to watch, though, in the morning.
Oh,
that
yes.
I still remember Sunday morning in 1980.
I remember that.
I was driving my mother's station wagon, and everybody started honking their horns and flashing their lights. I pulled over, turned the radio on, and listened to.
I spoke to them both today, they were both coming, and they're not answering phone calls.
All right, that means I ain't coming.
I say we start it.
We'll move on.
Yep.
All right, so,
Come on, Ken.
all right, we are going to continue our application for Mr. Merkel and Ms. Mark.
Okay, since the last meeting, which was November 13th, 2025, we did introduce 3 other additional items, which are marked as A17, extension of time to act through February 28, 26, A18, NJDP LOI permit dated December 23, 2025 with associated map, and A19, copy of conservation easement with NJDP filed 1/30/2026. Mr. Pape, we don't think we have any revised plans, so
We have exhibits this evening where we have plotted the results of the DEP permit to show you.
Okay.
But the plans remain the plans. So if I may, Kenneth Pape on behalf of the applicant Daniel Merkel, this is an application for variance relief. As the board is aware, in 2017, Mr. Merkel came before this board and received certain relief. That relief had conditions, some of those conditions were not met. We identified on the record that there was some construction that was done on his home that was intended to be consistent with the approvals, for which construction building permits were issued, but there were discrepancies that were identified, and we put those on the record. So there was discrepancies between what was approved and what was built. Mr. Merkel is also asking for some additional relief, and the additional relief includes the construction of a garage structure with an attic, 12 by 24 shed for his goats, fencing for his goats and ducks, and a duck run conversion of the batting cage that was there. As Mr. Merkel indicated when we were here the last time, this is not a business operation. This is his family's, this is driven by the fact that his family has pets, they have dogs, they have still 3 goats, 3 goats, still 4 ducks, and 4
The last
ducks.
time the one goat was sick. That one
Hospitalized.
made it?
He had surgery, he's okay.
Okay.
Had to change their diet a little bit, so we don't have to go through that again.
And the last thing that we had, at the end of the meeting, we had presented the plans showing those revisions. We had Mr. Merkel took us through the history of the errors that he had made, and we identified them on the record and asked for relief. And Allison Coffin, who is here this evening, is the planner. She presented the testimony that supported the variance requests that were made. And there were 2 things that happened at the end of the meeting. One was we had told you that we had a DEP application that was pending now for about 1.5 years. We kept thinking that it was going to be in our hands, and it wasn't until just recently the permit was issued. So that DEP permit was issued.
Thank you.
The significant,
Bless you.
The significance of that DEP permit is that it identifies, from the DEP's perspective, the constrained portion of the property. And we had asked the board to allow the township's conservation easement to be coincidental with the DEP's requirements. And we were unable to identify those requirements with certainty until that permit was issued. The permit is issued. And there was, the very last thing that happened was that, Mr. Chairman, you asked Mr. Merkel to do something. You asked him, as a sign of good faith, to take down one of the sheds immediately. And a week after you asked, that shed was taken down. The shed is, there is a second shed that we have an obligation to take down, but it's hard to take it down with the goats living in it until we have the opportunity to build a replacement for the goats. But the commitment that was made in 2017 and continues, that building will come down. This evening, I intended to present first Garrett Essler. He is the environmental scientist who worked on the DEP permit, and his firm secured the permit. And I've asked that he identify what was approved, and Lorelei has prepared two plans, one called the wetland plan and one called the permit plan. Wetlands shows you the actual wetlands as the state has ruled, and the permit plan shows the transition averaging of certain buffers. You can average a buffer by enhancing one side in an equal square footage of where you're asking for relief. So the first two we'll present to you through Garrett will be the wetland approval, and the second will be the permit plan. The third exhibit will be presented by Lorelei. We've asked Lorelei Totten, who Peter's in Florida for the winter, so Lorelei Totten is here in his stead. We've asked Lorelei to plot on Mr. Merkel's property what the conservation easement would be. And just a little sneak preview on that. Mr. Merkel's property was originally just a little bit over 3 acres in size. There were dedications that were requested at the 2017. Dedications to the town, 0.44 acres for road widening, and dedications to the county, 0.33 acres, or a total of 0.78 of his acres were removed and became public lands for road improvements. We start with a property that now is a little over 2 acres, and I tell you all of that because the conservation easement that would be consistent with what the DEP has determined should be in the conservation easement is just about 1.3 acres. So of his remaining 2 acres, 1.3 would be in a conservation easement. So that's the sneak preview of what I will present. I'm going to ask if Garrett could join us. I'll remind him that he is under oath. And Mr. Essler, if you could.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Essler, please provide you were sworn in at the last meeting and you were still on the road. Please just state your name for the record.
Garrett Essler.
And Mr. Essler was qualified as an environmental scientist at the last meeting, and I'll ask that he continue in that capacity. Since we were here in November, you delivered a DEP approval letter. If you could share with the board what was secured, what the actual permit, approval and permit was. They've already been delivered to your, the permits have been delivered to the township. But if you could describe what they are.
Sure. We received 2 authorizations from the DEP. The first one was a letter of interpretation, or commonly known as an LOI, line verification. So that received official DEP determination for the full extent of the wetlands and associated buffers with the property. And the second approval that we received was a transition area waiver action plan, which called out for the reduction of a certain amount of square feet on the subject property and for the compensation of other wetland buffers to mitigate that reduction of the wetland buffers.
The exhibits that are before the board include the stamp permit, the stamp plans. The stamp is in the upper right-hand corner. Perhaps if you could, does this microphone travel with him? Yeah, you're being recorded and you're on television, so keep that microphone.
Is this the same plan that you previously submitted to the board, or is it new?
But this one is, this.
Absent the stamp, is there anything different on that plan as the plan our chairman has in front of him Looks like dated 9/30/24.
Yes, I believe there was one change between so the first, I'll get into that. So the first plan is the LOI plan. This was
All right,
the.
well, Mark, well, let's slow down, because you
Okay.
haven't submitted this to the board yet.
Sorry.
Right?
I thought
So
that-
we're gonna mark as A20.
It was,
It's part of the LOI permit.
Oh, okay.
A18 is the associated map.
Okay.
thank
So
you.
A20 is, we'll call it enlarged.
I like that.
Okay, LOI permit plan?
Yep.
Okay.
So the record is complete. Would you read the date of this plan and the date of the stamp, and then tell us what's on this plan?
Sure. So the date of the plan is 9/30/24 with a revision date per Envirotactics for DEP submission of 10/13/25.
And the date of the permit?
Sure. And so it received an NJDEP approved stamp date on 12/23/25.
Now, if you could just tell us what we're looking at.
Sure. So this plan shows the exact NJDEP approved extent of the freshwater wetlands on the subject property, as well as the associated buffers for those wetlands. The plan does also include buffers from an off-site wetland extending from block 57, lot 13.03.
And perhaps you could, with your finger, trace the wetlands on that plan, just so the board can see.
Sure. So starting on the left-hand corner at B7 for the flag,
You're off the property there.
yeah, you're off the property there. You continue onto the property between flag B4 and A20, continuing on up through the property to the corner of Trenton Lakewood Road and Burnt Tavern Road at A12 at the apex, coming back down Trenton Lakewood Road into the subject property from A5 all the way to A1, which is off the subject property again.
Those were delineated wetlands, and what characterization are those wetlands?
So those were determined to be intermediate resource value, so basically no concern for threatened and endangered species, and those carry a 50-foot wetland buffer.
If you could go to the next page, the actual permitting plan, and if you could do the same thing, the date of this plan and the date of the stamp, and then I'll ask that you explain this to the board members.
Certainly. So the date of this plan is September 30th, 2024. It has a last revised date per the NJDEP review of 12/8/25, and it has an NJDEP approval stamp of 12/23/25.
And this plan is intended to show the relief that was granted to Mr. Merkel. So a portion of the buffer is going to be removed from the buffer, and a portion of the buffer is going to be enhanced in a square foot per square foot exchange. Could you walk us through that?
That's correct. So starting off of the buffer reduction, we proposed and received approval for the reduction of 4,351 square feet, which encompasses this area on the plan. It is shaded as so. That shows the proposed building as well as the shed and other fencing areas along this piece of the property. We propose to compensate for the reduction on the, I don't see our north arrow, along the side of Trenton Lakewood Road for the amount of 4,417 square footage. So we are proposing more compensation than what we are reducing.
And the area that is being reduced, that's the lawn area around Mr. Merkel's house. And it was important to Mr. Merkel that he be allowed to maintain his lawn.
That is correct.
That's the relief that the DEP granted. Those permits are in place. The next exhibit, and I have nothing further of Garrett, he is available to all. The next exhibit is one that was prepared by Crest that takes all of that information and then identifies the conservation easement that would result that we're asking that you accept. So it's available for your
Ask you
examination.
a question. There's a lawn area with some fence in the wetlands and a buffer area. Are you removing those?
No, we are not removing the fencing.
I'm looking at your approval, special condition number 7. It says not to be maintained as a lawn or landscaped area. The bunch of conditions, you have to remove this, no lawns.
Correct. So we confirmed with Avery Thomas through email that we can submit to the board if needed, that the lawn area
I'm talking
could,
about the lawn underneath, that's right there.
this lawn area here?
It's in a wetlands and a buffer area.
So again, this is all the area that we confirmed with Avery Thomas, who was the NJDEP reviewer, that these lawn areas could be maintained because they were pre-existing at the time of the freshwater wetland rules.
When did you have that conversation? Because it's not in the
We
permit.
have it as
It's not
an
in here.
email thread that we can
It's
share
not
with
in
you.
here.
Yep,
We have an email thread with Avery Thomas. I can present that as an exhibit.
But they said you could keep the fence in the wetland area, which is on your property line. That's the fence we're
Correct.
talking about. And the lawn and garden area.
Correct.
You could keep all those.
Yes.
Well, aren't you required to file this permit with the county?
They
And
did.
this,
Yes,
right, so the permit that's filed is not, you're saying is not accurate. So you're gonna have to get a new permit to file it. Email changers is not gonna cut it because you have a filed permit that specifically prohibits what you're doing. So you need a new permit to file, or we can't approve it, right? I mean, as a condition of approval, if you have a filed permit that doesn't permit something, and some guy at the DEP sends you an email and says, yeah, just forget about that condition, that's not good enough, right? Because you have a filed document with the county saying you can't do that. And you may be 100% accurate, I'm not questioning that, but he's got to modify this permit, you're going to have to refile it.
We won't have to refile the whole permit. We can request for an administrative modification of the
It's
permit.
the same thing.
yeah. When this came out, we immediately reached out to Avery Thomas, who is the person who's responsible for the permit, and there was a confirmation that the maintained lawn areas and the fencing associated with it could remain and did not have to go into any conservation easement. But if this board were comfortable, I'll show you the conservation easement that we propose, and if the board is comfortable and requires as a condition that we return to the DEP for that revision, that's an acceptable.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice. And if they say they're gonna do it, it doesn't seem that hard, right? But yeah, you're gonna have to do that. And I think the next follow-up question is, in your DEP you have here, maybe you could just quickly testify so we're all on the same page. What structures do you have in the wetlands and wetlands buffer? Because it seems they only approve 2 sheds, a concrete walkway.
Right, so the transition area averaging plan is only calling out the structures that are specifically within the area that's being reduced.
That's what you're proposing.
That's what we're proposing. The averaging plan isn't going to call out any other structures associated with the subject property. So it's not going to call out the rest of the home, it's not going to call out the rest of the fencing. The permit itself is only going to be associated, the language in the permit is associated with this reduction area. However, the DEP wouldn't have stamped approved a plan if there were known issues or violations with the freshwater wetlands rule. If there were, they would have made us remove and propose to remove those structures from the plan before they gave us a stamped approved plan from them.
I was surprised, I didn't see any mention of those violations. And condition says you can't have them, but there's no mention on your plan that's saying to be removed, to stay, or anything.
Right, so a couple of things to maybe add a little bit more information. DEP uses a lot of the times templates when they produce their permits. Many of these conditions are from that template, so it's very likely that they issued those conditions in error, and we can request an administrative
So-
modification.
You're gonna get something from DEP which will be filed, that's gonna say that little fence at the back could stay?
No, so the administrative modification won't call out the fencing because the fencing wasn't a part of the averaging plan. So the averaging plan is only focused on the reduced area and the compensation area. It's not going to call out any of the other portions of the property of any existing structures. But what we can do is contact Avery, request an administrative modification to request that the conditions are altered to reflect the conditions of the site.
Which is the little fence you have back there, the lawn area, and the two sheds are coming out, or one at a time? What was it, the story with the sheds?
One's gone and one will come out.
After the new one goes in.
We need a goat home.
New structure.
So we're down to basically DEP saying it's okay to leave that tiny fence back there and the lawn could stay as a lawn.
Correct.
And
That's
the
it.
garden.
It's worth reminding. So Garrett was at the DEP and he handled the permit for this property the first time. So he has had an intimate familiarity with the property and the people with whom he was working at the DEP. But
So no conflict of interest?
No conflict of
No,
interest
okay.
because that
Just figured I'd ask.
Yeah, no, that permit was already approved because it's no longer pending. There's no conflict
enough.
of interest.
So if we get that modification from you or state and file it somehow, then I think that should be fine.
would be fine with.
Because there is a violation by zoning officer that
We're-
this will address those violations.
Yeah, I think you need to make it very, very specific from the DEP. You have a violation from the town for having structures in an easement area. I tell the guy, emails just don't qualify as a removal of permit conditions.
We did bring the entire email thread, but we'll leave it off of the table. We'll accept the responsibility of going to the DEP for the administrative position. I would like to show you what the conservation easement looks like because it's very significant, the amount of property that will be preserved, both in a township conservation easement and in the DEP's conservation easement. If I may, I'm going to ask Garrett to sit and bring Lorelei up to have her present the next exhibit.
No, I think that was the biggest issue that was still confusing us, is why you had structures in a buffer area / wetlands area, but not approved from the DEP. So if you're saying they're gonna give you the approval, okay.
Yeah, but are they giving the approval on the fencing also?
That's a condition, that'd be a condition of approval.
Right.
Right, so that they can't do anything until they get that, my condition specifically says, they need to get an amended permit showing the lawn and fence to remain is approved by the DEP and filed with the county. No permits until receipt and approved by the board engineer.
Right, okay. In the language of what Garrett's saying, I feel like that's not even a plausible idea with DEP. So
Well-
do you think that that's a plausible idea?
Sure,
Okay.
Yeah.
because of pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
And the DEP says, no, he's gotta remove it. It's not it's one of those outside agency approvals, it's up to them. If they say yes, they can keep it. If they say no, they gotta get rid of it.
So in my opinion, the grass seems like the grass area would be moot, whether it's wetlands or not to maintain
You
the
can't mow
grass,
it.
but
If it's wetlands and buffer, you can't mow
We're
it.
not
Yeah.
supposed to know.
They-
he's got goats.
They took the
They eat it.
position that
Well, that's
it was a
not
maintained
knowing.
lawn. The DEP took the position it's a maintained lawn.
All right, it's okay, whatever the DEP says, at least we clarified that issue.
So then, one last question, so they approved the walkway, garage, stores, and all that stuff. What about the fence that you're proposing in the buffer area?
So again, this comes back to what we had discussion with Avery, that because it was deemed as existing maintained lawn, we'd be able to put that fencing in, but because that fence isn't associated with the averaging plan, that's the reason why it wasn't called out in the initial approved activities.
So
Do you have a
is there
comfort
any
level that it will be?
Paperwork saying it's approved, or?
Right, so because the way that the DEP treats a pre-existing maintained lawn is that they recognize that it is associated with a buffer area, but they still allow for certain activities to be done within the maintained lawn without needing to receive DEP approval. One of them is mowing your lawn, the second is constructing a fencing, because they're seen as very minor disturbances that aren't actually going to affect a natural wetland buffer, but for a maintained lawn, it's seen as acceptable. So typically landscaping, those other types of,
That's a fencing that has no concrete base, basically.
correct.
That's what I
Right,
understand.
yes. But any substantial improvement, like a building, that would need DEP approval.
Right, that's why the one shed still has to come out.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Just, I'm sorry, before we move on, the DEP, they're whatever they say rules, but typically, if an applicant, a homeowner is gonna keep something in a conservation area, they have to get approval from the township committee. Do they still have to do that level now? This is the
Well,
question.
that's the next question, because he was gonna say, he was gonna show where the conservation area is. So that was gonna be a follow-up, whether,
Okay.
does the wetlands and buffer match the conservation easement? Right? And if the answer is yes, which it should, okay, then they still need approval from, since you're given that conservation easement, you have to get approval from the town. But it's obviously easier to get approval from the town if you have DEP approval already.
Okay. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
So, no, the conservation, let's get that conservation.
Right, because that's the next step. I know you were getting to
Because
that.
there's a question that, the wetlands and the buffers and the transition waivers, all of that is proposed in the conservation easement, accepting out the maintained lawn area that the DEP allowed. So we're asking for the DEP, follow the same guideline that the
You're gonna, we'll have Lorelei,
Oh,
she
yeah.
can explain it. Your position's gonna be, you want the town to give the same type of approvals that DEP does when you get the corrected DEP approval. Is that fair to understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. So Lorelei Totten is a professional engineer. Her credentials are not on the record, and she
Yeah,
is,
Ms. Tom, please raise your right hand. You swear affirm the following testimony about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for record, spell your last name.
Lorelei Totten, T as in Tom, O-T-T-E-N, Crest Engineering Associates, Inc., Millstone Township, New Jersey. My PE license is good and in effect and has been for a couple of years.
And you're not, and you're not in Florida with Peter.
And I'm not in Florida with Peter, yes. It's cold up here, yes.
Well, at least it's warmer than the last meeting.
Yes.
so Lorelei, we've asked that you prepare an exhibit that identifies the extent of the conservation easement that would be dedicated both to the DEP and to the township. If you could identify the plan by its title and date, and then,
Yes, this is called Proposed Improvement Display. It's dated 10/22/25, revised 2/25/26.
and I think the most important thing is to identify the conservation easement that would be offered to the township and the county.
I'll mark that as A22 proposed improvement plan with a last revision date of today.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a blow-up of the area of the property where the home is located and all of the areas of concern. This green highlighter line runs along the outside edge of the enhanced buffer along the property line, and then continues with the wetlands and along the dotted line, which is the result of the lot after the dedications were given, up along a 50-foot revised wide buffer, accepting the area that the DEP has indicated could remain as lawn, down along that edge to the wetlands line, through along, again, the maintained lawn area on the other side of the wetlands line, and then crosses through the wetlands along the property line back to the place and point of beginning. And this area is approximately 1.3 acres in size.
The portion that's outside of that, the nose is the that's already been dedicated to the town and to the county. So the only portion that would remain available to Mr. Merkel and his family is the property that's north of the green line.
Do I make a good Vanna White?
Yes.
So the only area that is different, if you drew the wetlands and wetlands buffer line, The only area is that lawn box area that we've just talked about, where the shed is. What's that area, what's over there?
This is also
Just a lawn area.
the green dotted area on each side. That is the area that NJDEP indicated that's lawn, that they indicated could remain as lawn. The blue area in the middle,
The whole area.
that's the area that is the buffer averaging being taken away from the buffer, as Mr. Pape described, and replaced with the area along Trenton Lakewood Road in this area for enhanced buffer.
All right, just so I'm clear with my notes. There's 2 lawn areas that you're telling me the DP says it's okay.
Maintained lawns.
Right, and what we have now doesn't say you can maintain them, but you're gonna get that as a condition of approval. So I wanna make sure it's 2 lawn areas, one to the left and one front right.
Whether they are connected,
Well, you know what I mean.
yes, but 2 big areas.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Because the approved DEP plan does show the 2 lawn areas to be maintained.
But there's nothing in the permit that
Permit
says.
says you can't have it.
Right, yeah, so you gotta clear that up.
And the plan says you can,
And maybe you know someone that works at the DEP.
or someone who used to work at the DEP.
Right. Okay.
Good.
Mr. Chair, other than to repeat representations that were made previously, which Mr. Merkel is prepared to do, and so is Ms. Coffin if requested, that is the applicant's presentation. We're asking for permission to incorporate the modifications to the home that were made. There was the extra man door, there was 72 square feet of additional.
Ken, maybe sorry to cut you off. It's been a while, okay? And I think we've gone through what you need for the DP. I see you have your wonderful planner here. I know she testified at the last one. Maybe she could just come up and just go over, by the way, we've gone through this. Here are the actual variances we need as a reminder what we're gonna vote on.
That would be perfect.
Because it's November. I don't,
No, I watched it yesterday again. You guys all should have watched it.
I should have rewatched it.
I mean,
Danielle
is
says no.
that good for the board, so they get a kind of refresher of the actual variances? This stuff is all outside agency approval stuff. Let's talk about some stuff that we have control over.
One thing I have is getting zoning officers clearance of the violation.
And that'll also coincide with the updated
That will maybe
DEP.
coincide with the.
Right.
We're scheduled to appear before Judge Sonnenblick
I
next
understand
week.
you before the judge next week.
We're going to take, she kept moving it so that it was on the outside date of this hearing. So we go
Okay.
Monday.
Ms. Coffin, you testified at the last one. Please be advised you're still under oath.
Okay.
And I think we could just kind of go to, hey, testified before, just so you're aware, these are the variances we need after we've now corrected all the conservation easement, wetlands issues alike.
Sure. I don't think the changes with the conservation easement and the wetlands made any changes to the variances. There's a D1 variance for the use, because we're expanding the house that was approved by variance. There's a D4 variance for FAR. Existing unchanged are the lot area and side yard setbacks, and the new variances proposed are front yard setback to the garage addition, side yard setback to the garage addition, and accessory structure, side yard setback, and the minimum distance between structures. The special reasons for the use variance exist that it advances the purposes of the MLUL due to the particular suitability of the site. In 2017, the board found the site particularly suitable for residential use due to the lot's small size, a significant area of wetlands and wetlands buffers, and there has been no significant changes in the circumstances that would alter this. The current proposal is a good fit for an existing and approved residential site. The zoning board approval given previously affirms that the site is particularly suited for residential use, and the proposed additional space will support the applicant's use and enjoyment of his own home. Amending the previous approval to include the second-story recreational space as it was constructed just enhances the function of the space as a continuous part of the rest of the dwelling. Looking at the FAR, the site accommodates the FAR, and it can be considered subsumed within the use variance for the single-family home. FAR is not typically a tool that's used to control residential use. In fact, in Millstone, you don't have an FAR requirement in any of your residential zones. And the FAR, in this case, is accommodated well on the site, as the structure requires no relief for coverage and adequate parking is provided. So there's, in my opinion, no detriment proposed to the variances as they're proposed. Again, the board previously approved a D variance for residential use on the site, and the proposed alterations don't increase any detrimental impact. The bulk standards in the BP zone that we're asking request for are intended to control non-residential use in structures, and when I compared it to the R80 zone, which is the residential zone in which this size lot would be most appropriately considered, the proposed setbacks would be conforming. The new features will not be highly visible from either roadways. They're tucked behind the building. So there's no visual impact from the variances that are being requested. And the amendment to the 2017 approval would not significantly change the function of the site. And these variances would not substantially impair the intent and purpose of your master plan and zoning ordinance, as the site already contains a dwelling.
If I may ask, so the FAR, I think 2.20 is what is permitted for warehouse buildings, and we're 0.285. There is no FAR anywhere in the town for residential development.
Correct.
I think it's the impervious coverage and building coverage, I think, are really good tools for the board to understand just how de minimis the impact is on the property. The BP zone has this 20-40% rule, 20% building coverage and 40% impervious coverage. And we're at 6.6% compared to 40 and 3% compared to 20. There's a 3% of the properties covered by buildings with these expansions, and 6.6% of the total impervious coverage with all the relief that we're requesting. I think those tools are, I'd ask that you consider those tools to be much more important than the FAR. No. Anything further? Any
Ms.
examination?
Coffin, you testified that you looked at another residential zone and the setbacks would be compliant. Did you also look at that for building coverage and impervious coverage, and how this application would apply to that? Would this be under what was proposed in a residential, would be overdevelopment, or this is minimal considering what it'd be permitted if it was a residential use regarding those two requirements?
Pulling up my older outline, which is a little more extensive. The only new relief under the R80 zone that would be needed was the setback between structures.
So if this was an R80 zone, you would comply with building coverage, you would apply with impervious coverage?
Not 100% sure from the language I had in my outline, but we certainly wouldn't be increasing any non-compliance. So that implies to me that it would comply, yes, because we're increasing both impervious and building coverage here.
So the answer is just, you
So
don't,
yes.
it's okay.
Yes, I just had to think that through.
But what is the percentage if you considered that? If you consider just what is without the conservation property?
That I don't know.
What's the building coverage you're proposing now?
3.0%.
All right, so if your building coverage is 3.0%, we have, and McKinley got this wrong, we have no residential zones that have less than on building coverage, correct?
Right, no.
Yeah, our building coverage in residential zones would be 20, 10, 20%.
Right, but this is encompassing the conservation property as well. If it was not, then what would the coverage be?
Carved out.
I think, did you
Probably
count,
about 8.
because we have the ordinance where we don't count wetlands as part of building coverage?
Commercial,
That's for commercial.
that's for commercial.
Oh,
Okay.
so if it's residential, you're able to use it.
Okay.
That was your
That's my
question, right?
question.
It would go to about point 8. If we take 2/3 of our property away,
Right.
and then the number would go up by about 3, and that would take the 3.0 to something around 9,
9%, okay.
9% on the unencumbered.
Still reasonable number. Okay. Any other questions to go over?
I had a question in regards to the garage. Obviously, there's got to be something put there as a apron, an access to like a driveway.
But we had testified that no
You
driveway.
don't have,
That was testified before. I want to make sure that that's going to remain as lawn. I mean, it's not terribly practical to build out a garage that you can't really drive any equipment or anything up
It's where,
into.
Mr. Merkel testified, it's where all of his, right now, his garage is filled with lawnmowers and
Where's the second
tools
driveway
and
is built?
equipment, and
Where's
he
the
wants
garage
that for his
addition?
car. This would be the storage area for all of those, I'm gonna call his equipment and toys, but he specifically stated there's no access required for vehicles. He has a tractor that will go in and out of the building.
Well,
That
we
was his
could,
testimony.
we could make a condition approval, there'd be no driveway to new garage addition, including no stone
Correct.
or other
Yeah,
hard
surface.
material for access of vehicles.
And that was Mr. Merkel's statements.
Yeah.
It's one area that's got existing concrete to remain in the back there.
Just the one spot.
It'll end up,
You can,
You're on the road.
we can hear you.
it'll be a, part of it gets cut off, the other part will end up being just outside the garage door, like the man door on that piece of the building.
Okay.
So it'll just end up being a place to step out onto.
It's on the plan, it's shown on the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
McKinley, we have anything else to go over that we may not have covered?
I mean, I wasn't here for the last meeting, I tried to familiarize myself with it. From a planning perspective, I think Scott covered a lot of it. The FAR especially is not something that I would worry about. It's for warehouses and it's not what we have here. The major concerns associated with this were how the conservation easements were going to be taken care of, what was being placed in the conservation easement, and what the DEP was ultimately going to say. So if the board is comfortable with what they've shown there, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, again, does what the board said, you wanted the conservation easement to cover what the DEP was identifying as wetlands and their respective buffer area. And we have to get the clarification on it, but that's really more of an engineering thing than me, so I think from a planning perspective, the use variance and the FAR are not something that I'm worried about in this instance. It's the details of the conservation easement.
And you're also approving the fact that we're leaving the lawn and some of the fence
Right.
in the buffer area and wetland.
Subject to approval by the DEP.
So a condition of the approval is going to be based on getting the updated permit
Yep.
approval from the DEP.
And-
Correct.
And we need zoning officers' clearance for all this.
DEP doesn't approve it, they're back here at the table.
May I ask a clarification? The plans that were submitted here, they show the dedicated for the conservation easement going just to the wetlands line and not including the buffer area, which is required by our ordinance. Is that area also being placed into? a
Which area are we talking about?
Sorry, I'll
I
make
think
sure.
the arrow is 50 foot short.
So this section here, except for this buffer averaging area, and this area here, under our ordinance.
Yeah, that's
it
the-
is also required.
That's the area they're getting approved by the DEP to keep as lawn and fence.
Yeah, but still
Understand, but
conservation is.
our ordinance also requires this area to be placed in conservation, so.
There's a
that-
condition that they need approval from the town for that relief.
And that
Do
would
I-
be a zoning officer.
I think
But this area still will be placed in the conservation, or are they asking to not place this in conservation? I guess is my
that would not,
clarification here.
the lawns would not be in the conservation easement.
Well, I think that the conservation easement goes to the township.
So
Okay?
acceptance by ordinance.
And so what I'd recommend, that they need a waiver from the township for the area that the DP has excluded for the two lawn areas to be excluded from the conservation easement. Because that's because we can't say, hey, town, don't do that. right? And we don't, and since from my perspective, it's a,
I think it's two things, maybe. Is it, you're not looking to put this in the conservation area?
That's correct.
Or are you looking for the conservation easement that's required to be filed to have a waiver to allow those things? I think that's where I'm trying to.
I think it's the first one.
And
That they have to get relief from the township not to have that area in the
Not from the
conservation.
board.
From the township.
No, the conservation.
Because they could go, they could go to the township and say, hey, guys, I'm required to do this, but the DP says I can maintain my lawn there. Here's their updated permit. Town, is that okay with you?
It isn't,
I don't want to speak for the township, and they may say, no, that's up to the town, it's not our problem.
Greg, there's a third, and this is something that's between Andrew Ball and me initially, but it could be in a conservation easement, and it could have an exception that says conservation easement exception
Yes.
for maintaining a lawn. But the language is, it's all in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Millstone has an ordinance, Millstone's law requires all conservation easements to be accepted by an ordinance.
It's going to make approval of the township however they want to do it.
That was, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, you could do it one of
It's done two
three ways,
I
yeah.
just didn't know if the board had a preference.
We'll see what happens.
Let's give you what the township wants.
Which brings us to, you're a board of 5, and we need 5. And
Oh, it's right, we do, it's a use variance.
there's a D in it. And does the board have any comfort level of polling, or if not, it's malpractice for me to go with 5 when I need 5.
Yes.
Comments?
Yeah.
Instead of a poll.
Yeah. I agree, because what I was just going to do, Mr. Pape, was kind of just discuss with the board to see if they have any questions, comments, concerns,
Mr. Chair, that'd be great.
so see where this may lie.
Thank you.
I'm clear on everything.
Okay. Do you have any concerns with anything?
No.
Okay.
My only concern is just, we do have to, this time around, follow things, cross the Ts, dot the Is, do exactly as the plans say. So we don't end up winding back here. Because there seems to be a little bit of a breach, and that's concerning. Being honest, that's all.
And previous dedications, that's all complete, filed and recorded and everything?
Dedications of land are complete, and the consolidation is complete.
Okay, because I think that was one
But
of the
the
hiccups.
conservation easements are not done.
Right.
So-
Right-of-way dedication.
Right. Yeah.
Right, the right-of-way dedications. But now everything's kind of hinging on the DEP approved plan or the administrative approval of the updated permit that will coincide with what's on the current plans.
Don't want to beat a dead horse. The permit doesn't have the language. The plan, stamped, does. So we've got to get the two of them to be the same.
So if the DEP approves the plan,
They did.
Or
And
modifies it. or
and they
whatever.
approved the plan, but they didn't update the permit, that's because it was 2 days before Christmas, they had 1 foot out the door, but,
Well, this one came today from Lorelei, so.
well, it was 12/23/25 that it was stamped, so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
To expand on Ms. Arpaio's comments, is there anything that we can do as condition?
I have it- I have it-
Everything goes as, the as-built is as approved?
Well,
Or
yeah, so in my
who
condition.
does those inspections?
Well, there's two things. So the first stop is the resolution compliance, okay? That they have gotten all their approvals, which is all prior to getting any building permits. Okay, and all the conditions, and when I read into the record later, says you need this prior to get a building permit. You need this prior to get buildings. So the first word I'm looking for, the first gatekeeper, okay, is resolution compliance in the town saying, okay, here's your resolution, you needed to get DEP approval, you needed to file the conservation, you got the DEP approval, great. You got the township approval, have you filed your conservation easement? Here it is. Have you filed your updated permit? Here it is. Have you revised the plans for whatever conditions I put in? Yes. So at that point, it's a check mark. I mean, you know, I have like 15 conditions. Check, done, check, done. Once all 15 are done, they get their building permit. The second gatekeeper is the inspections. I'm not going to consider a gatekeeper because the inspection looks to see how things are built. They don't always look to say where it is. They'll look at a foundation, not say where it is. But we do have a condition that we require an as-built to confirm that what was actually built is consistent with the approved plans. That's our second biggest gatekeeper. First is they getting all the stuff done, which they were supposed to the first time, but they'll have to get it done. And the second one is after they do it all, before they get a CO, they have to they send a surveyor out there, get an as-built, and Matt takes it and says, yep, they built everything in the right place, or they didn't, violations, move it.
Right.
That's kind of how it works.
But that's what happened last time, but.
I don't know what happened last time.
Was there any violations, or was it
Yeah,
just,
they're presently-
was this revealed
Mr. Levers?
at this application?
The building permits were issued by the township for all that Mr. Merkel built. And they shouldn't have been, and we're not saying that that's the fault, but that's how it happened. I mean, Dan went downtown with building permit applications, not thinking he was doing anything improper, and they gave him the building permits.
Right, they issued a permit, based on the plans that were submitted.
The construction.
Something different was built, and they still approved it.
Oh, no, Mr. Lambers, the plans that were submitted with the building permit matched what he built, not what you approved.
Oh,
The contractor went downtown with the plans.
I got you.
Dan had approved them.
Okay.
Nobody had a sharp eye on 72 square feet, extra man door, and the powder.
So if we know that can happen once, how can we stop? How can we prevent it
Mr.
from
Lambros,
happening
if I may,
again?
we have a new software program, and it allows me to put in a prior approval for land use, so anything that has come to the board. So they don't issue any permits from construction until they have prior land use approval. So after this hearing or whatever resolution is here, I would upload the resolution to our software, and we share something. It gets a flag on the property, and it will not be able to issue a permit until they get sign off from my office and then zoning. And my office doesn't sign off on it until Matt and the chairman and I all sign it. And Ken knows I like to make sure I have all my i's dotted and t's crossed.
That's our third gatekeeper.
Yes, indeed. Actually, she really is the first, I'm going to be honest. She's the first and the last. She is. All right, so it's just that when this came to the board, it came to the board with an illegal bathroom and an additional square footage as being the issue. So that's the reason why I pointed out, cross your T's, dot your I's, make it exactly the way that you planned it. That's all.
One more question, just clarifying. That green area you're saying is proposed conservation easement area? The green line?
The green highlighted?
The green line, not the
green line.
not the lawns,
So
but
the
the green
lawn
out.
areas, which is wetlands, our wetlands buffer, you're not proposing to put it in the conservation easement?
Unless Andrew Ball tells me to put it in, Andrew Ball's the township
I
attorney.
mean, DEP doesn't require conservation easement.
Don't-
Our ordinance does.
Our ordinance does.
I have to go through the township attorney's office to get to the governing body to get an ordinance to
Whether you
accept
showed
it.
green line, that may change depending what, between the zoning officer and the township attorney. We have to figure out where that line is.
Of the three top ways of putting it into a conservation easement or not, one of them is to put it in with permitted activities.
Okay,
With exceptions.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So they could put it like, you got this conservation of 17 acres, but on this plan, this 100 square feet can be mowed. The other X acres can't be, so it's not that difficult.
No, thank you.
And
But it's
Matt,
up
you
to
were
the town.
talking about that area, I'll call it like the southeast portion of the plan.
There's the
That's
lawn
green.
areas.
There's
There's
two
a
places.
lawn area.
The two lawn areas.
There's the southeast and northeast, northwest.
The two lawn areas
Yeah.
are wetlands and buffer, but they're not shown in a conservation easement. That's,
More like give me the digital, it's a little easier to see if you'd like.
so, but.
Okay, yeah,
at
that's
the
the
end
one
of
I was
day,
looking
the
at,
township
just above the garden
committee
area.
Has to approve
Right,
the
right.
line. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
And they are already disturbed areas, so.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Pape, it's up to you.
We stopped at 4.
I was just gonna say, we got
Oh.
Mr. Sin on.
I apologize.
No, as far as what, I'm sorry, additional.
Any comments, questions, concerns?
No, like, mine was, really just that driveway, which I have no confidence that after the property is sold, that somebody's gonna not wanna put a driveway up to that garage. And what would the regulate, how would that be prohibited? How would that come up?
The garage door's smaller, so the cars can't get in.
Yeah.
Well, you were putting a condition in, right, Greg?
Well, yeah, listen, there's two ways to do it. All right, it's three ways. One is we have it as a condition of approval, which is obviously what we always do, okay?
Yeah.
Two, if you're like, someone down the road is not gonna care, okay?
Right.
What we could require them to file the resolution as part of, file the resolution with the county as part of resolution compliance. What that does is if Greg Vella buys that property, Greg Vella calls his title company, and the title company gets their prior deeds, go get all the permits, and we'll get a copy of this resolution. So Greg Vella buyer could go through it, or his lawyer is gonna be like, you better read this, because you're strict on a lot of stuff here.
Right.
Before you buy the property. And he'll never then, is that gonna stop Greg Vella to build it? No, you're never gonna be able to do that. But it does provide appropriate notice that they can never say they weren't aware of it.
Right.
It does provide that, it's a notice. You can't stop it.
Right.
It's
Because
just,
there's no permit for putting in a driveway.
no, and throw some stone down.
Right.
No one's ever gonna see it. So that's the best way is, if you want to notice and require them to file the resolution. You wouldn't have any problem with that, right?
I would do it with a restrictive covenant.
Yeah.
I'd attach it as a restrictive covenant.
And honestly, with everything going on in this application, it makes a lot of sense.
I think the whole, if the board adopts a positive resolution, the entire resolution
Yes.
should be recorded.
That's what I said.
And because of the importance of that clause, it could be listed as under a paragraph of special condition, or something that's more bold font so that it's not missed.
And I don't anticipate any changes from the DEP once they get everything. Nothing's gonna change on the plan, because they already approved that plan. They just have to update the permit.
Anything substantial changes.
Would have to come back, and then we get to review it all over again.
Right.
Depends on what, I doubt it, but you never know.
You never know. Okay, so we have a lot of conditions, and we have a lot of things hinging on the DEP updates, but overall, I think we pretty much have a general consensus that we're moving this in the right direction. Would that be safe to say?
I love Mr. Larry. Mr. Pape, your call.
I think that if anyone had a reason or not to vote, ask for a vote this evening, you would have shared it with me. Mr. Chair, I'd ask that the board consider voting this evening, please.
Fair enough.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we've gone through the comments, so I'll do the conditions. I'll start with one. Applicant obtain amended DEP permit showing the lawn areas, because it's more than one, and fence to remain approved from the DEP, and the fence in the buffer that must be filed with the county. No permits will be issued until receipt and approved by the board engineer. Conservation easement / exclusion is subject to approval by the township committee and township attorney. Also condition zoning order for the clear permit. No driveway to new garage addition, including no stone or the hard material for access of vehicles to new garage addition. Already did. Township approval could either be an exception or a waiver, or within the conservation easement with an exception to the area, but that's up to the township committee. Applicant provided an as-built, applicant to file a resolution with the Monmouth County Clerk. Matt's has outstanding payment of tax revision, tax map revision fee of $300, which was for the first one, it wasn't paid. Prepare and file conservation easement, that's been paid.
Plus interest.
Variance plan should be revised to indicate all variances required for this application. If it's not been done, we would require it. We already talked about NJDP approval, filing the conservation easement, and placement of all easement markers. New tax map revision fee of $300. And let me see if I have.
Zoning officer's approval?
Yep.
in there? Quick question, I may have missed it, did we open to public?
No,
No.
I was just gonna say that. I was waiting for Greg to, I was waiting for a pause for Greg, that's why I just tapped my phone to see what time it was.
No commercial buildings in any of the garage, no commercial uses or businesses in any of the garages. The same siding and roof of addition as the house. Already talked about the fence. Yes, that would subject,
The shed is
And the
also-
existing shed that still needs to be removed?
One shed will be removed prior to CO.
I was gonna,
One will be removed, one's already gone.
One's already gone.
one's gone, and the one
So
that's
this
there
one
is where the
still needs,
goats live.
one of these still has to
Okay.
come out.
We have no problem taking it down. Sequentially, we've got to build the first goat house, move the goats to take the old goat house down, so
shed where goats live to be removed prior to CO.
that's fine.
Snap, crackle, and pop.
The proposed new shed, we're aware that it does need to match the house in color and material. That's the ordinance, so.
Okay,
Yes.
that'd be a new
Is the-
condition.
Is the garage door, which way does the garage door face? Towards the green or towards the house?
Towards the green.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Now we could open to the public at 8:44. Is there anybody from the public that would like to step forward and comment on this application? Seeing nobody, we will close this portion to the public. All right.
Okay.
We got everything covered?
I believe so.
Okay. This one had a lot of moving parts, but I think we're almost there. We're just waiting on the DEP. So if anybody want to have any further comments or questions, and we'll make a motion to approve or deny.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
With the conditions I've outlined,
With
correct?
conditions.
I was
Condition,
just about to say that.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
I will second that with the conditions outlined by the attorney.
Okay. Danielle?
Chairman Mostyn?
Yes.
Ms. Arpaia?
Yes.
Mr. Cadigan?
Yes.
Mr. Lambros?
Yes.
And Mr. Sinha?
Yes.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Okay.
You're a me man.
I'm in Freehold, unrepresented habitat on land that was given by Bruce Springsteen to Habitat, and we need a use variance. 7 people, one stands up